Now let's move on to the free cash flow calculations and projections. It's very important because we'll develop the 5 years, the EBITDA, and all these free cash flows linked to the exit years, the value of the company, right? And then it is the interest expense must be now corresponded to the debt repayment schedule and the cash sweep. These free cash flows will be also used into this equity valuation model. So this is really base. And then 2021, all this information is from the real number of your chosen company, the recent year of the information. So you must develop this, right? And then this assumption part of the cash flow drivers, this is a minimum assumption part. The revenue growth, EBITDA margin as a percentage of sales, the depreciation and amortization as a percentage of sales, capex as a percentage of sales, all are based on the percentage of sales, right? Because the sales is the main top point of the income statement. And then it is very difficult to make the free cash flows without generating more the sales, right? So definitely we use this percentage of sales method. And then the free cash flows is comprised of net income all the way down to the net income, and then add back depreciation, capex, and then net operating working capital, right? This add back depreciation and amortization again is for the non-cash the reconciliation, and then capex does not include, the capex is not showing on the income statement, right? The capex, the actual investment between 2 years. So in order to get 2021 capex increase or decrease, you must definitely get actual increase or decrease the last year or average of the last 3 years, for example, right? The net operating working capital, again, how to get the net operating working capital, current asset, current liability, the changes between 2 years. Then if this operating working capital increases between 2 years, this is a negative, right? So that's why usually because we the capex and the net operating working capital changes are negative because we assume the sales increases. So we have the assumption first. We have to create this assumption part first. Again, how do you make this assumption? The principal finance or corporate finance or all the finance courses the taught you how to make this the assumptions totally based on your the research work, any kind of research, any kind of number. Now once you can support, and that's totally fine, right? So here I have put the 60%, 4%, the decreases the percentage of revenue, yeah, because of the repayment of the debt. Then now once we repaid many debt and then some rebound, again this percentage changes must be explained, right, by your like justification or some research. EBITDA margin percentage is 10%. I want to maintain the 10%. That increases the free cash flow of the firm, because it's very important maintaining high level of the EBITDA margin, the greater than the before, right? Before this LBO investment, because all the cash flows, free cash flows generated by this investment will be used to repay the debt amount next for 5 years, right? So it is very important. Then this percentage of the depreciation amortization percentage is, I just use like very similar percentage. It's not much changing. Oops, not much change it. So I used the 3.26% as other years. And then the capex investment, the percentage. So here is the thing that even though I put this 3.6% percent of the sales, the depreciation amortization in the dollar term will not be like the same. I mean, this 3.6% of the sales is already increased, right, by 6% every year, because this the depreciation amortization is calculated by percentage of sales, right? So that's why 3.6% the depreciation amortization, the actual depreciation amortization amount will be increased because, again, because of this the revenue growth. In the same way, capex investment has been 7.6%, and then I'm going to reduce a little bit, 2.5% or 2%, and then 1.5% and 1%. We cannot increase significantly for this capex because, again, we have to repay the debt, right? But again, the total capex amount will be increased even though this capex as a percentage of sales has been decreased, because the revenue growth is now increasing, right? Revenue, we put the positive, the percentage of growth, right? So, and then we'll see the capex amount increased every year. So again, we have to increase capex in dollar term, right? And then change in net operating working capital that I put is like just 1%, because I think this amount is just minimum the working capital for the operation. And then the tax amount 35%, which is the same every year. So once we complete this assumption part, those assumption part must be explained on the water part. Okay, so here, how, again, by the research or your storytelling, whatever. And then let's correlate. Let's correspond to this the assumptions to the projection part in the dollar amount. So this revenue now increased by, this is 6%, right? So we have a new revenue, and then let's just drag to the right. We have the revenue in the projections along with this assumption part, and then EBITDA also will be now. This EBITDA is now, we are using percentage of sales, right? So let's put this times 10%. So even though we have the 10% every year, because we correspond all this EBITDA with the percentage of revenue, we have the EBITDA that increased, right? So we found this number using this assumption. Then the depreciation amortization also percentage of the sales, right? It's the same way, percentage of the sales. So we have also increasing the depreciation amortization because, again, this revenue is increasing. Then we have the EBIT, how to get it? Now revenue, how to get it? Sorry. The EBITDA now minus now depreciation amortization. So we have the EBIT, and then let's just increase. Interest expense is very tricky, right? The interest expense, we must have to calculate the interest expense based on the remaining balance of the debt. So let's just skip this interest expense at this time, right? So we have the EBIT minus interest expense, and then just use this equation. But this amount will be updated every year, right? And the tax amount is, how much is the tax amount, right? The 30%. This pre-tax EBIT times tax. And then let's drag to the right. And then we have finally net income minus tax. Then we have net income. we need to add back the depreciation and amortization. We have calculate here. Then let me just drag. And then capex. How to calculate capex? Again, capex is the change in percentage of the sales between 2 years times where is the sales, right? So 125. Then let me drag, and then the operating working capital from this assumption, 1% of total sales. Then we have got it, right? And then free cash flows before debt repayment is now net income plus add back minus capex minus net working capital. So we have the free cash flow before debt repayment, right? But again, this amount is not at the final number because we have to put this interest expense, right? We cannot calculate interest expense until we finish this the debt repayment schedule, because debt repayment, as debt is repaid, the debt amount remaining is changed, so the interest expense every year is also updated. Okay, so we'll now move to the debt repayment schedule next video clip. Yes, bye bye.